Amon got some major buffs today, so I'll be showing you the best build utilizing all the changes they made to his kit here, as some of the damage boosts were upwards of 100%. So he is now a lot more effective in combat. They made changes to his entire kit, and it's a lot more enjoyable to play through. So I'll be showing you a very powerful build to make the most of it without any bugs or glitches, and this is likely to be a build that'll be usable for a very long time, as I don't see them nerfing any of the changes that they made here. So without further ado, we'll get right into things. Now, the skill tree will be mostly in the Vengeance here and using the Scourge skill tree, which had a massive 50% boost to the Vengeance that you can use. So this is going to block damage for him, making him a lot more tanky. We also got some changes to the Eternal Winter here. Got a 100% damage boost on the massive Forge Wave that comes out that deals additional damage, does not consume Vengeance. So this is really good because it allows us to stay in our action skill for a very long time. And the Glacial Rapture also got a big boost to its overall damage. We'll also be going into the Onslaughter skill tree because we want to get the Berserk here, giving us a huge boost to our cryo damage here, 36%. And then when we're in here, it gives us a maximum increased bonus damage by 600%. So we can actually do quite a bit of damage here. So to take you through the leveling from levels 1 through 5 here, the first skill point that we want to go with is Scorched Kairos here, which gives us, actually this one got boosted and now gives us increased ordnance damage quite a bit. And the reason we want this is because our action skill Forge Waves deal cryo ordnance damage. So they're both boosted by cryo damage in boosts as well as ordnance damage buff. So this will give us a nice 30% increase in damage to our skill there right off the bat, which is great, especially if you got different grenades that work well. You don't have to use a critical knife here, which is just amazing. The other choices are kind of nice, but I found that the damage boosts are not that fantastic. But if you want, you could take 3 points to the Thrill, which gives you missing health regeneration, which is, I think, really nice to have. Now, Blast Chill actually got his damage increased by 45%, so that's actually quite a huge change. The Cryonic Throom there is pretty nice, but I think this is better. This is good if you're playing with friends, because it restores their health, but I think that this one, it consumes more Vengeance to deal extra damage, but the damage increase is so massive, especially early on in the game, that it's worth taking this now. And for our next skill point, this is a good one. So whenever we deal ordnance damage, there's a chance to apply a cryo status effect that deals cryo damage over time for a duration. And this can be actually a pretty good boost to overall damage. So that's nice too. You can get an increased action skill duration with the Eternal, though. This has actually got boosted as well, given 25% instead of 20% it used to be. So this can make us allow us, especially with the Eternal Winter, to stay in our action skill pretty much indefinitely. But I think the Tail of the Comet just ends up being a bit better damage early game. Now, there's a few good choices here. The Bullet Hail doesn't actually end up being quite a bit of damage. If you go all the way in on this, this only ends up being like a 15% boost to damage if you're able to get lucky with the ricochets. I think the best choice is to go with the Ancient Way, is giving ourselves plus 30% cryo damage, because we got that on our action skills. So that's 30% boost. It's nice. And we're incentivized to use cryo damage, which is what this build revolves around. So the Eternal Winter, this restores your action skill duration whenever we attack with it. So you just want to constantly be spamming your whip there, or the Forge Waves. The Firewall duration, and on the Firewall duration on damaging enemies, it can be activated 3 times in succession, and on the third attack, as mentioned, it gets another boost to its overall damage. So the massive Forge Waves does 7,897 damage. That is also going to be boosted up by other abilities, and it got doubled in its damage, so that is actually really nice to see. It's strong now. The Northern Wind, so gun critical hit chance to apply slow. I don't like taking this, but I have it in my class mod, so I'm not going to complain about it because it is nice. But the Icy Rage is good here. Kill skill, granting whenever you kill an enemy with cryo damage or status effects, you gain a stack of cryo affinity for a duration. This will increase your overall gun damage, and that's 6.25 points per stack, and you get 5 stacks. So that's like a 35% damage increase, really nice, or 31% damage increase, nice. We also got the Winter's Kiss here. Whenever we deal ordnance damage, we consume a stack of that, which this also got a boost today. This now does 50% damage instead of 40% was previously, so actually a massive change there. So the Cryo Shards, and then we can have them ricochet with a 21% chance. I would actually only recommend taking 1 point here, and I'm going to get into why, and I'll show you in a second. We're then going to take the Glacial Rupture as our capstone, which turns our firewall into Glacial Rapture, so we press and hold to drop this down. It deals damage over time. This actually got a massive boost to its damage as well. So whenever we utilize this, it's now doing 41% more damage, and there's 10 seconds less of a cooldown time. So actually massive change there. And whenever we do this, it leaves cryo hazards, which hazards aren't really good, but they're decent against certain bosses. So that's quite nice. We're not going to continue with that, but I'll show you where we got the option for a little bit later. I like to give a couple options at the end to where you put your points. Now, this is great because Discombobulate can give your melee critical hit chance. So we can actually get critical hits off on Scourge, but this is only good until we get later on in the game because we can actually achieve this another way. So I actually think if you don't want to go with this, fire damage is nice. This gives you shield regeneration rate, but it's either between, if you're later on in the game, the heavy plate's probably a little bit better, getting 35% more shield and then a maximum overshield of 45%, which is really nice because we can get our action skill to critically hit other ways. I like to, once we get down here, take 1 point in gut punch. This gives our melee a 20% and our ordnance a 10% chance to apply weaken on enemies, which makes them take 20% more damage and they deal 40% less damage. So we actually become very tanky when we're in our Scourge there, which also gives us the damage reduction of 60%, 40%. We take no damage from those enemies. We'll then also take Titanium Knuckles here because the increases to melee damage are going to apply to this here whenever we get to a higher level. So the reason we're going with this is this is a cryo ordnance damage on the forge waves, but we can add later on with the specialization our melee damage onto our skill damage, and then this also boosts up your skill damage, so it's actually pretty crazy. Status effect damage is nice, but cryo isn't really that high in its overall damage compared to shock, so I don't think that actually works very well. Shock has one of the quickest damage over time, but does so much damage. Forged in steel here, this is actually really good, so we become immune to all damage. Whenever we go into our forge shield, we get a big shield that has vengeance. If we use this, it means that we're not going to be losing our vengeance by taking damage for 6 seconds, so that we can spam our skills a little bit more frequently. You may not want to use this, but it is nice to have. 6 seconds of invincibility is really, really good. Now, there's a couple of good choices here. So whenever we deal gun damage, we can get action skill cooldown rate. I don't love it. Overshield when we do melee damage is okay, but I think the best choice here is the increased gun damage. 6% per stack, that's 30% extra damage whenever you apply a status effect. You can even take it up to 7.5 with max stacks of 5. That's a pretty big boost to overall damage. I'm not going to take it for a reason is I want to get down to Berserk. This is where a lot of our damage comes from because this actually has great synergy. Whenever Amon activates his forge skill, he becomes Berserk for a duration, gaining slow immunity and bonus cryo damage with gun and melee damage. So this becomes pretty great because we're going to be dealing a lot more extra damage. You can take just 4 points. I have a class mod giving +1, and you can go here whenever we have our shield break. We do get a 3% lifesteal, so that can slowly sustain you a little bit. I think that that's not a bad choice if you want to take just 1 point, and if your shield breaks, it gives you so much more survivability. And then for our final 3 points, as mentioned, you can put 2 points into here and then 1 point into There Is Only Red. I think that this is better to take at least 3 points. So kill skill, whenever Amon kills an enemy while Berserk is active, partially restore its duration, which we have 15 seconds. When you take on an enemy, it gives you upwards of 9 seconds back, and which also gives you an increased bonus damage by 60% per kill, and then increase bonus damage, maximum increased bonus damage to 600%. So yeah, whenever you take out enemies, you can become Berserk. This will give you bonus cryo damage, and then this bonus damage becomes really crazy. Every time that you take on an enemy, it gives you that increase by 60%. So you can get 10 stacks of extra bonus cryo damage. Yeah, this becomes quite nuts. So your damage potential comes through the roof whenever we apply all this together. Now, specializations aren't fully needed, but if you want to min-max and put this together the best way possible, now with caffeine, whenever you use your Repkit, it gives you 75% of your action skill cooldown back. And unfortunately, Amon has one of the longest cooldowns in the game, 60 seconds here on that. So this can help out quite a bit because this will give you 15 seconds back every time that you use your actions, your Repkit. And with a Repkit with 3 charges like this one here, you can get 75% of it back really quickly. Now, I'm a gun. Action skill damage benefits from increases to gun damage. This is nice because we can get a lot of boosts to our gun damage from our skill tree, which will then apply to our action skill. And then on top of that, our action skill has a chance to critically hit enemies and also gain increased action skill critical hit damage. So with our melees, as I mentioned, you can get it another way, but this is a good way to get this here. Now you can go with Riddle You This, which will give you increased gun damage by up to 50%. I like this one. It's actually very strong, especially because he has like a lot of really good fast firing guns, because that can give you a huge boost to your damage. But you can also go with the full spectrum arsenal, I guess we have a few choices here. We could go with the full spectrum arsenal, giving ordnance damage benefits from gun damage increases. And then this is the chance to critically hit from the ordnance there as well. So you got a couple choices that you could go with it. I would recommend going with these ones here selected. And putting this together with a class mod, we get the Shatter White. So this now allows Forge Waves to deal melee damage in addition to their other types. As mentioned, this all synergizes together extremely well. Melee attacks while Scourge is active gain increased cryo efficiency and radius. We also get a plus 45% cryo damage from this and a plus 25% elemental damage. The cold damage becomes pretty nuts whenever you got all this put together. Now, for the rest of the you don't need this, but this is a nice boost to our damage. We can also then add in the onion shield. This gives you immunity to damage whenever it breaks in a 2-segment. I like the shield a lot on Amon because he is tanky, but getting 6 seconds of damage and vulnerability when you activate your action skill, having that shield, and then having this, he's very tanky now with a boost to damage. Very nice. I also like to have, this is my favorite enhancement, giving us the critical hit bounces around to multiple enemies and increasing the ricochets. Ricochets are so good in this game, so we want to utilize them. And we do have a bit of a ricochet build going. This works well with this frozen shotgun, the Sweet Embrace, which has the Jacob's critical hit chains around to multiple enemies. So you can freeze enemies and chain it to multiple enemies. Hot Slugger, one of the best weapons in the game. I just love this. Plus 90% damage is huge. I also like a plasma coil for any type of shields because this is going to be the best way to remove them quickly. It shoots 8-round bursts and the damage potential is nuts. And then we also get the Seeping Stray here. This is just an auto-aim gun. It's fun. You can also go with, if you want the Kickballer, that's obviously going to be one of the best weapons in the game. But if you have the Jake and Slice's property, it can chain around to multiple enemies, which is nuts. I also like the Dark Beast because there is a lot of corrosive, weak enemies in this game. And this can also pierce and also chain. So it's Ricochet, Pierce, all of that together. I actually like putting this one on. I'll show you what it looks like all together. And then we also got the Critical Hit Knife, but you can go with any other type of grenade. I'd recommend one with multiple charges so that you can constantly be tucking them out. The Critical Hit Knife obviously being one of the most powerful in the game, so I have to include it here just because it is so good. But even the Slippery Grenade's nice because you use your melee damage. And then we also got the standard triple bypass, giving 3 Repkit charges to get our action skill cooldown back. So again, I guess mentioning some guns again with the Sweet Embrace, Hot Slugger, Seeping Stray, and Dark Beast here. And to put this all together, so we got pretty good damage output now, especially with our skills getting buffed. So this is in Ultimate Vault Hunter 1. So activating our action skill using those whips, you can see the damage from them is actually quite buffed. That's actually insane the amount of damage boost there. So yeah, in Ultimate Vault Hunter 1, we can actually do some pretty solid damage just by spamming that. And you can see we have our action skill for so long because every time we hit someone, it regenerates it back. And here it is in Ultimate Vault Hunter 5. So having the ricochet and pellets on our cold damage is really, or the frost is really nice. But then once we activate our action skill, becoming invincible for 6 seconds is crazy. You can see here, even if we're getting shot, that's no big deal. And we also have the shield there, which will protect us too, but we use up our vengeance. But the nice thing is you can just continuously spam this with the internal winter because yeah, it lets you get it back. And then you can take out enemies with it too, because that wide ranging one is so nice. So yeah, this is pretty crazy. The Ultimate Vault Hunter 5, spam the action skill, takes out the boss, still has 50% of the action skill left. Ultimate Vault Hunter 5, that was pretty good. And we got Baby Yes Money, Baby No Money. Got the Grenade, Artillery Fuse. This is the one that I always end up getting here. And here's the big Encore Driller boss. So this is in Ultimate Vault Hunter 5 mode. This is an enhanced version of the boss. The extra damage block that we get from this is nice. I should have probably waited to use that a little bit quicker, but we also have 8 total seconds of invulnerability from the Onion Shield, which I think works out really well in Amon. But you can see there, we got pretty much infinite uptime on our action skill because we can continuously spam it, and it's going to regenerate it there, especially if we have multiple enemies that can continuously keep getting hit by this to further regenerate it. Yeah, it's actually pretty nuts. So we'll just keep going ahead here. And then we also, I guess, have the Eternal Winter, so you can press and hold that there to do a bit of damage over time. And the damage boost from today's patch is actually pretty nice. So yeah, we'll keep spamming that there. Being able to take on the special boss of the week with just your action skill, I would say that Amon is back. I guess this is the first time he's ever been here and been good, but yeah, this damage is pretty good. You can obviously use your guns too. I just want to show the crazy damage that comes from that there, but yeah, absolutely crazy change to Amon. Big boost to his damage. His survivability is even better, so there's a lot to like here. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Hit the subscribe button below if you haven't already, and I hope you have a great day. We'll catch you in the next one.